For months, a cycle of retaliation has pushed the Middle East toward a wider war, threatening to paralyze critical energy corridors. Now, Washington and Tehran have reached a preliminary understanding to step back from that edge. It's called the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, mediated by Pakistan and Qatar. The immediate goal of the agreement is a 60-day extension of the existing ceasefire. Unlike previous pauses, this framework explicitly includes Lebanon, acknowledging the expanded regional footprint of the current conflict. Halting escalation across these borders prevents a localized conflict from triggering a worldwide economic collapse. Economic stabilization begins in the water. The accord mandates the immediate, toll-free reopening of the Strait of Hormuz to all commercial traffic. Within 30 days, maritime trade through this choke point is scheduled to return to pre-war volumes. In response, the United States has agreed to terminate its naval blockade against Iran, contingent on Tehran's compliance with the terms. This creates a 60-day window of partial sanctions relief, allowing Iran to resume oil exports and generate revenue for its domestic economy. Reopening the waterway removes the primary blockade for energy markets, allowing global logistics networks to begin the slow process of recalibration. Beyond the movement of oil, the accord addresses the technical core of the tension, Iran's nuclear program. Under the reported framework, Tehran has pledged that it will never acquire a nuclear weapon through any means. To address international concerns, the memorandum requires a chemical process known as downblending. This reduces Iran's existing stockpiles of highly enriched uranium into a lower-tier, safer state. This downblending must occur on Iranian territory, under the strict, ongoing supervision of United Nations inspectors. However, diplomats emphasize that this memorandum does not authorize physical modifications to Iran's nuclear infrastructure. That would require a second, more comprehensive agreement. Since the facilities themselves remain intact, the downblending serves as a temporary pause on enrichment rather than a permanent dismantling of the program. One of the most sensitive points remains the billions of dollars in Iranian assets currently frozen in foreign accounts. Tehran is demanding immediate access to these funds, while Washington favors a phased release tied to verified Iranian compliance. A proposed compromise would allow Iran to access a portion of the funds, but only for humanitarian purchases processed through Qatari financial channels. Establishing these mechanisms required intensive shuttle diplomacy, including hours of discussions in Tehran between Qatari negotiator Ali al-Sawaidi and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Throughout the talks, al-Sawaidi remained in frequent contact with representatives of President Trump's team, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Because direct financial trust between the two nations does not exist, third-party mediators are the only viable way to facilitate the release of these funds. Financial markets responded immediately to the news. West Texas Intermediate crude dropped to $83 per barrel, and Brent crude fell to $87. A broad group of regional actors has expressed support for the accord, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Turkey, and Pakistan. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was reportedly caught off guard by the announcement, learning the details through social media. While Israeli officials support the limits on enrichment, they remain skeptical of Iran's long-term intentions and are urging Washington not to release frozen assets with stringent safeguards. In a striking revelation, President Trump claimed that planned military strikes against Iran were canceled at the last moment because diplomatic efforts were so close to a result. The immediate drop in energy prices provides short-term global relief, but the deep-seated strategic anxiety in Israel remains a factor for the deal's longevity. Logistical preparations are now shifting to Geneva, Switzerland, which has emerged as the expected venue for the formal signing ceremony. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to represent Washington, while Iran may be represented by Speaker of Parliament Mohammad Bakr Ghalibaf. 4 United States Air Force C-17 transport aircraft have already been dispatched to Europe to support the Vice President's visit. The signing in Geneva provides a temporary diplomatic opening. The durability of the agreement depends on whether both nations maintain compliance through the 60-day window.